And yes, we are live. Welcome to Youth Flag Rugby. It's a podcast about youth rugby. We focus on uh, union rugby, non contact, mixed gender, and all topics and any topics that are basically pertinent. Um, Today we're going to be talking about academies and specifically the Free Jacks, the professional MLR club in New England, and their idea, their concept, or what's in the works for an academy associated with it. And for that, we have Tony that has come and joined us. So let's just go down the top, bottom for co-host, so everybody can hear everybody's voice. And who's up?
Hello, everybody. This is Chris Cuddy. I am the rugby dad here for this. My days of playing and refing and coaching are at least on hold for a little while, but I'm just a parent of several rugby playing maniacs, and I'm a rugby holic, and I love to talk rugby with you. That's it. Daryl?
Is it me?
Oh,
Oh,
wait.
Yep, Daryl, go.
all right. This is Daryl Jackson, formerly of I was formerly the USA Rugby Development Officer. This meant I was charged with helping grow, quote, and with air quotes, grow youth rugby in New England. Really, the job was to increase the membership. I've coached at Needham High School, the girls teams, and I will be working with the Vesh and the Centaurs going forward.
Hi guys, I'm Lil Rimac. I played for Morris Women's Rugby, and now I just referee full time for the Rugby Referee Society of New York. I have been involved since we started youth rugby for Morris back in 1999, and now I'm the referee trainer for our youth referees.
Hi there, this is Sean Kelly here, former president of Boston Irish Wolfhounds, ran Super League 4 years from 2009 2013, and now I think I'm described as a rugby alakadoo because I've been involved in rugby for about 43 years.
Excellent. This is Shaggy from the South Shore Sharks. I am president of the Sharks and flag coach. I also help out with our local SRO with Myro. I'm the clerk of Myro, and yeah, be dad too. It's all good.
My name's Steve Cygnus with Rentham Youth Rugby Barbarians. I've been with the club since 2013, only serving as club president. Coached the kindergarten through second graders.
Awesome. And I am Purpura. I am a member of the New England Free Jacks as a rugby player and also a community outreach and high performance coach with the Free Jacks. I am USA Eagle number 416 and incredibly passionate about the local game here in New England. I grew up here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and am looking forward to being on the show today. Thanks for having me.
I'm Ryan Trost. I coach with Steve at Rentham Barbarians. Did some work with Myro for a couple years as youth committee chair, and did some work with Northeast Academy around that same time, around 2016.
And lastly, let's just make it very clear, I forgot to say this earlier, that although some of us currently or formerly sat on boards of one flavor or another associated with local or USA Rugby, this podcast and what we say in this podcast does not speak for any board, any organization, or anything. We're just informed folks that like to sit around and discuss rugby and like to continue the discussion moving forward. So if you do hear something that's interesting or something that you're questioning, go ahead and reach out to us or reach out to the organization of which we made reference to. But please understand, we do not speak for anybody except our little podcast over here. So let's go ahead and move forward to news. So, folks, do we have any news to report? Anything happening, USA Rugby, Morrow, or anything?
From a USA Rugby perspective, there's been no real movement. They're still all in discussions. They're working through the bankruptcy. They're working through what rugby will look like coming out of bankruptcy. So, and therefore, since USA Rugby doesn't have anything, unless Shaggy has something to offer, I don't think Myro has any new updates. They're really going to take their lead from the national office. There hasn't been any rumors, I think, lately. I mean, I was just looking at the only thing that I've seen recently is that USA Rugby has extended their um, the, um, the suspension of activities through May. So they're basically taking their cues from the CDC. It's interesting. They got a couple of international friendlies lined up in August. That all that's going to have to depend on what the CDC says and probably some newer guidelines. But a lot. It almost seems like every week there's an announcement of a new camp or clinic being canceled. So I think everybody's just kind of in a hold to so we can figure out what it's going to look like. So I know they might have, or the Myro was looking to probably start an early summer session um, since we've lost the spring. So hopefully that will come through. Otherwise, we might be looking at the fall.
That'll keep us busy. I've got one other topic. I'm always trying to focus on what we can do, and I don't know if you all see this, but USA Rugby has posted workout with the Eagles is about an eight session series or so every week on. I think it might be tomorrow. Then the next one's on the 30th, where one Eagle will lead you through a 20 minutes workout session, and you can donate, and the proceeds of the you can donate as associated with the workout, and the proceeds of the donation will go to those that are impacted by COVID-19. So again, I love the idea of, hey, we're kind of locked up, but what can we do? And the Eagles once again going out and saying like, hey, we'll do a little online session. You can work out with us, raise some money for COVID-19. I really appreciate it. And you can just check it out. Work out with the Eagles or on the USA Rugby site. I'm sure it's on there. And looks like a decent program. The next one is on April 30th with Abby Gustitis. Last week they had Hunko on it. So it's a good good idea.
Cool.
I appreciate what it.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Anybody else?
Yeah, actually, in regards to, I don't know if you guys want to get into this later, but in regards to Myro, um, actually over at the Free Jacks, one of the exciting things that we're going to be doing is actually going to be rolling out a virtual academy for members of Myro, specifically the under 14 kind of age grades, and that we're going to be putting, some of our community coaches are going to be putting that together over a 4-week kind of course, or of kind of a introductory kind of, sharpen up the skills and keep people engaged. It's pretty good. I imagine it'll probably be something we kind of touch upon as we get into like the meat of the show. I just wanted to fill that in.
Absolutely. I think
That's
we're going to want
awesome.
to hear a lot about that. So yes, that definitely falls in the news, but then we're going to hear all the details about that. Okay. Anybody else? Shaggy, you got
What?
something?
Yeah, just to update as from Myra. We're in the middle of a bunch of meetings where we're trying to kind of reinvigorate our board and in leadership and kind of get things moving and essentially say we hear you to all the membership. So hopefully by the end of our next meeting, this coming Thursday, we can have some news of things, of plans we're going to have moving forward, because obviously we all have to contribute. We all as a membership base, we got to bring it all in and deal with coming out the other side of COVID together. So the Myro and the board is basically here's you. So that's all I got.
Good. Glad to hear.
Nothing inclusive, but it's where the mood seems to be changing, and I think a lot of it has to do with this open dialogue we're having. So
Excellent.
Yeah, I really appreciate, just even the little update, just saying we're working on it is helpful for us. No, Shaggy, hopefully you get something locked down for, Thursday or some more information. But I even appreciate just a simple update saying, hey, we're talking, we're working on it. We hope to have something for you this week. It's great news.
I
Excellent.
agree. I
awesome.
think that's the big thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're not looking for answers right now. We're all in the same boat. I think really what we're looking for is just a hey, we hear you, we feel your pain. As soon as we know something, we're gonna let you know. Um, maybe this is our official position or something. But I don't know. Just a acknowledgement, just to put something dateable. It says that you guys aren't just sitting on the couch watching TV all day.
We're working for you guys. Trust me. We're working. We're trying to get it done.
All right, guys. It looks like that's what we have for news. That's good stuff, and it sounds like some of that's also foreshadowing for what we're going to be talking about later, or basically now. Let's go ahead and transition to the main topic of what we're going to be discussing tonight. We've brought up the concept of academies in the past. We talked a little bit about what an academy is. So now let's actually start looking at an actual example, kind of like where the rubber meets the pavement. And as we mentioned earlier, the Free Jacks, our very own New England MLR club, has started talking about their academy, and so Tony has graciously agreed to join us to give us some of those details of whatever it is that he can share about the academy that's associated with Free Jack. So Tony, can you give us a little bit more about yourself? I think you already kind of gave us just about everything, but if you want to fill it in with a little bit more, and then from there we're going to transition right into the academy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So just a little bit more about myself. I was born here in Massachusetts. I was born in Lawrence, Massachusetts. I grew up in Haverhill, Massachusetts. I didn't get the opportunity to actually pick up a ball until I got to college. During high school, I got actually introduced to the sport. I was part of a program called Student Ambassadors, and we went over to the UK. And while I was there, when we were in Wales, we went to a rugby match, and I got to witness it firsthand. And so before going into high school, I was very focused on playing football. Did not have the opportunity to play rugby yet. So I was very focused on playing football and wrestling through my high school kind of experience. But rugby was always something I was paying attention to and kind of enticed me. And then, as I was kind of going through high school, and at the time I was getting recruited to play collegiate football, I planned on going and playing football at the University of Maine up in Orono, Maine, and I saw they had a rugby team. And at the time I played offensive line. I was like a 300-pound center, and I knew it was an opportunity. Something about rugby really kind of really excited me, and I think what it was a combination of things. It was first the ability, playing center. I got to touch the football every play, but never got to run the ball. So that was some pretty exciting stuff. And also, didn't really like wearing pads. I got to be honest with you. Wearing the helmet and the shoulder pads, I didn't really enjoy. So I kind of turned down my opportunity to play football at University of Maine. Decided to play rugby. And, from there, my journey began. After ending my time up at University of Maine, my ultimate goal was to play for the United States. Then I went down to New Zealand for a year and played. And I tried to make the most out of it and got the opportunity to play NPC rugby for Mid Canterbury down there. And when I came home, got my call up to the USA Eagles after playing a brief stint with the Boston Super League team. And from there, one of the things I always I tell the kids when I'm doing clinics is rugby is really a passport to the world. And, I ran with it with two hands. And I went, after New Zealand and, went back home. I played for the Eagles and got to travel to North and South America. And then from there, kind of went all over and traveled around playing for different teams. And, I took a 2-year kind of gap there. For a long time, I was working full time while trying to play club rugby for Boston, while trying to coach simultaneously at Brookline High School, as well as Cambridge Ridge and Latin. And then, there kind of took some time off and had a full-time gig coaching at the Harvard women's rugby team. And then out of the blue, the USA Eagles coach, Marty Veal, and Dan Cron kind of came to actually pick up a scrum sled at Harvard. And from there, they kind of asked me to come back into the fold and play for the Eagles, which was a huge surprise for me. And I took it with two hands, and that was back in 2017, which was we won our America's Rugby Championship. And then I dedicated myself full time to kind of playing the sport, and with the San Diego Legion in the first year, the MLR. And then, Alex Magleby was actually, when he was kind of talking about bringing a professional team here to New England, he reached out to me, and I saw as an awesome opportunity to actually kind of return home and, kind of inspire the next generation while continuing to work on my craft. And yeah, it's been an unbelievable experience and an amazing, I am really happy I made that decision because I am absolutely, so passionate about the game. And, from there, so starting last year, a big priority of the Free Jacks has been our community engagement. And since we got it going, I know I've seen a bunch of you coaches in our kind of community outreach clinics where, myself and Tig Leader and some of the other Free Jacks, we will actually go to a training and we try to bring multiple teams together and just try to show some of the stuff that we're working on with the Free Jacks and with the Eagles and try to bring some of the high performance techniques and really just trying to, build up the skill sets of all, of every single level of rugby here in New England, and really just trying to inspire the youth to continue to pick up a ball and keep running, because we know there's future Free Jacks here in New England, and and future Eagles of both boys and girls here. And that's a little bit more about me. Is I love the game so much. I love kind of spreading all this knowledge that I've kind of cured in my travels, and just trying to spread the word.
Wow,
Come on, Tony.
what an awesome story, right, guys?
Yeah,
Seriously.
absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, as a local guy, I mean, I went to Brookline High School. So it looks like you spent some time in my school. I played with Boston men, and the fields over there. It sounds like every corner of rugby that I've hung out at, the sandlots that I chilled at, you've spent some time there. So wow. I mean, I knew you were a local guy, but this is I like Special Agent 416. Is that your Eagle number? You guys get numbers when you become an Eagle?
Yeah, so it's actually it's a pretty big kind of ritual
Yeah.
ceremony. So when you play your first kind of full test match against another country, there's a capping ceremony,
Yeah.
and it's a you kind of it's kind of an emotional moment, right? Especially when I initially started paying attention to the sport, the passion to play for the United States was always something that I strive towards, and was a big reason why I went down to New Zealand was because I only had 4 years of experience playing up there. We didn't have a coach, so a lot of it kind of came from
Yeah.
after my freshman year, we were kind of player coach, and
Yep.
then I was kind of lucky enough to get chosen for the New England Collegiate All Stars and then the Northeast Collegiate All Stars. And so I was always that player staying behind after training, kind of picking the coach's brain, and I would write down kind of all the different drills and strategies and techniques we were doing, and I would have this full notebook also, and I would play men's league as well. I played for Mystic River Sevens. I played for Boston Rugby Summertime Seven, and then I would go back in the fall and I would that would be the kind of curriculum for our next kind of fall season and spring season. And it was a lot of fun. And it was something, I always looked at coaching and trying to grow myself as a coach as a part of a kind of 360 kind of degree learning of the game. And, as I say, like, it's one thing to know it, but if you can teach others, you can know it better. And that was one of my big philosophies.
Absolutely. No way to know something better than have to teach it to somebody else. I mean, you really you need to learn something on many 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 levels in order to be able to bring it with you, and it's just amazing that this cross pollination was taking place at a very high level. I mean, you're when you're talking about playing with Mystic, when you're talking about playing with Boston men, those are big caliber clubs, and also with it comes, even if you don't have a super caliber coach at that point, because it may be summer or not, you got some super caliber players who are Eagles. So taking what you learn from there and bringing it out to the colleges, that's amazing. That cross pollination is just so important at many levels because there aren't those bridges, we don't have an overabundance of super qualified coaches. So being able to do that is amazing. And it's funny that you're now doing stuff with community engagement because that's kind of it sort of it to me it sounds like it fed that anyway. You're taking what you're learning one place, you're bringing it somewhere else, and you're engaging over there, right?
Yes. Oh, exactly. And with the community kind of engagement, um, so like I said, it's been such a massive priority for the Free Jacks, and one of the kind of big foundations that Mags and a lot of the other people in the Free Jacks have kind of built the Free Jacks on. Like, we kind of recognize that here in the New England area, we are really fortunate to have such a strong rugby community, and one of the things that we've kind of seen is kind of all these different clubs, and they're very strong-minded in staying within their clubs. And we were just hoping to kind of have the Free Jacks be kind of the overarching flag and hopefully kind of uniting everyone. And that has also been a kind of massive priority of ours, is trying to not necessarily show, more love to one club or another, but just trying to unite all of New England under the Free Jacks banner.
That's
That's awesome.
huge.
I mean,
With me coming as an outsider, I grew up in Colorado, and that was the one thing that I noticed was that there was a little bit of division, and it happens. I mean, it's healthy competition, so they're competitive. But it's good to hear that you guys, as the premier club in town, we're striving to be that unifying factor within Massachusetts to break down some of those bridges. Because I think I talked to a couple of people and said, it's hard to not remember when Club A beat Club B 99-0. You still remember that. And even if you went from being a player to a coach to an administrator, so it's clubs like you can really be that unifying factor that kind of brings those old rivalries together, and guys can say, hey, at least we all really love rugby, and then we can all cheer for this one team because it benefits everyone.
It's such a smart plan of how to cohesively break into with the communities. And the way you guys have put yourselves out, like the players, not even just a business plan, but you guys are all, like, you can just tell you guys are all bought in. You're all bought into the vision, and it's so smart. Getting the way especially the way you guys are connecting with the younger kids, the flag kids, just being so available to the high schools and all that. That's how you create and maintain a fan base, and a fan base, and just and create like a lasting community. That's really smart.
Hey, Tony, can you give us examples of some of these outreach activities you guys have done? What are some of the things that you enjoyed? Maybe some of the ones that were very fruitful, maybe some of the memorable ones, or just in general, some of the things that that you have participated in that Free Jacks have done?
Yeah, absolutely. So, myself, Connor Kinnergan, and Ty Gleader. So, last kind of spring and this fall, during our competitive season, we would schedule 1 to 3 clinics a week where we were going out to all these different places, and we made it a priority not just in Massachusetts, all of New England. I went up to Maine, I went to Vermont, went over to New Hampshire. We're making our way to Rhode Island and also portions of Connecticut. You guys are on the list, don't worry. We would go to these places, and we'd have kind of great communications with the coaches, and we'd ask them, what are the different, where do you see your kind of team struggling in? Where do you think that we can kind of put some emphasis on, where you think the players can improve on? And so we kind of take that input in. So what we do is, how we'd structure the training sessions is, one thing Tig and I kind of thought, a lot of these kind of cookie cutter clinics would be, they just kind of spend, details on some of just skills. And so one of the things that we wanted to do was we wanted to kind of spend more time on the set piece. So that's what we'd do in the first hour. I would take the forwards and Tig would take the backs. So in the forwards, we'd spend a lot of time on trying to create a really good foundation for scrummaging. It's such a dangerous part of the game, and it's a really kind of obscure and maybe even, alien kind of part of the game that some of the kids aren't necessarily familiar with, because coming from flag rugby and then all of a sudden the introduction of scrummaging can be a little overwhelming. So we'd spend some time doing that and really kind of pay attention, make it really kind of detail oriented, for them to kind of hopefully grow as players and at least have some work-ons. And I know Tig, with the backs, they'd spend time on some kicking, and some first phase attacking plans, and kind of throw some of those things in. And then in the second portion of the clinic, would come together, and we ideally would try to have multiple teams in it, because then we'd go through something we called a Free Jacks fast day. And so with that, it would be a non-contact training, and we'd try to simulate it as if it was a game. So there was, we make sure to incorporate ball presentation, because that is such a, that is something that at kind of the lower levels sometimes gets overlooked or becomes kind of a struggle for some players. So we'd make sure that we'd, kind of build in some restrictions. So we'd make sure that we kind of, ball presentation was always a big one. The next big one was, we wanted to try to have an expansive attack, put certain kind of restrictions on, the attacking team had to at least move the ball twice before they were tagged, or it'd be a turnover. And then also, there'd be a lot of we'd focus on kind of ball and play. That was a big thing, was just trying to keep the ball in. So, I had the fortunate enough kind of opportunity to play under John Mitchell and Marty Veal. And so when we were in Eagles camp, one of the things we'd do is we'd have a fast day. It was we call it chaos training. It was all about ball and play. So anytime there was a knock on or turnover, it would just be a kick to the other team, or just roll the ball to the other team, rather than having this kind of like long, sophisticated break and then everyone getting in. This part is just making sure the kids were having fun, but also simultaneously learning about the game, in that continuity and that chemistry with their teammates, and really kind of come away from that session with more confidence heading into the next match, feeling good about operating as a team, because that's what this game really is. It's a vehicle for building character and having fun simultaneously.
That's fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Lil, you have something to add?
I love it, because that's exactly what we did at Morris. Make it fun for them, teach them different skills, but also teach them that how to throw the ball properly, how to stand in line, how to create a defense. Start small and then work your way up to the more skilled things. But I love it, Tony. That's great stuff.
We had a lot of fun. One particular, I mean, honestly, Coach Shaggy, we've had a couple sessions with Marks that were a lot of fun. It was the ability to, because we took contact out of the situation, we were able to have co-ed clinics, which was really cool. And I remember two particular co-ed clinics, which a lot of people might have been kind of intimidated by, but I thought we made really good progress and had a lot of fun. Was one particular clinic we did between Charles River men and Beantown women's, which we even did like full contact scrums between both of the packs. We put a couple of kind of restraints on it, but we got so much out of it. And up in New Hampshire, we actually had the awesome opportunity to work with the University of New Hampshire men's and women's teams, as well as Freedom Men's Rugby, and as well as Seacoast Women's Rugby. And so we had 4 teams all working together, and we actually had an amazing session up there. And the ability to do it, to structure the trainings, to be able to have co-ed and kind of broaden our net, and able to like bring all different rugby players of all different experiences, backgrounds, kind of come together, have some fun. Everyone's breathing heavy at the end and playing some fun games. It was, some really, really kind of great times.
No, it was in the trainings that I was involved in with you guys. It was really there was a really good identification of the players' skills, no matter what they were. There was a lot of adaptation that went along that you guys did very, very well. It seemed like we came into one of the games thinking one thing. It was like I think we're allowing for like 4 passes, and quickly adapted just to allow for that, to have the kids play as hard as possible, but not that identification to where they'd be taxed on your part. It was really, really well run.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I mean, we've had the luxury of having you involved in a lot of camps and clinics, and I would say like that rugby chaos thing you mentioned, Tony, resonated with you. I saw it, and one of my favorite things about what you do there is you bring this energy to the team, but you're always asking, "What are you going to do?" You don't tell the kids what to do. Whether they're going to pass left or run or run straight or what it might be. You're always asking, "What are you going to do?" You put the decision making on the kids. You put them in this sort of chaotic situation, and I think they really do come from that growing in confidence and building probably the most important skill in the game, which you can't you sort of can't teach unless you're doing it, decision making. And that's one of the big things that I've taken away from some of the camps and clinics that I've seen you involved in. I think it's really helpful and admirable.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that, and you're spot on, right? I mean, as you know, as coaches, you can only bring them so far, and then once match day comes, you're gonna have to. And I think that's a unique kind of awesome portion of the sport is you can only do so much, and then once that kind of kickoff happens, and it's all in their hands. So that kind of free thinking and that decision making, they have to see the space. They have to see kind of the overloads and those things. So, yeah, one of the things I try to do is not give them the answer, but try to lead them to the answer by asking them questions to then provoke the answer out of them. And I love I know you guys have seen me in some of these clinics. I love jumping out there as a referee. I'm policing the breakdown, but at the same time try to kind of show them the different pictures they're seeing, and then hopefully kind of nudge them to making the best decision for those pictures that they're seeing.
Well, that's fantastic, and I can only imagine how much fun being able to just bring clubs in, regardless of whether they're a men's club or a women's club, and being able to put Charles River versus Beantown. Whew, Beantown pack against any. I'm sure Lil can talk about her pack and also the Beantown pack. I would. Oh boy, that'd be an amazing thing to watch. So let's start diving deep here a little bit. There's this thing that we're hearing about in academy, and also some of the points that you brought earlier. You teased us with at the very beginning with the news. Do you want to start talking about that? And I think what's going to transition us into that, I don't know if you want to use this as a transition. JJ was asking about, hey, when do you feel is the right time to prepare for contact? Well, when should that start? Should that start at high school? Should it start at grade school? Are we talking about, going to use 18s, 16s, 14s? What's your perception on that? And then just if you want to use that or push that aside and answer it when you start talking about the academy. Let's dive into the academy. What's this academy thing we hear about, Tony?
Yeah, so it's been slowly kind of taking shape because it's a new concept here. Even looking at the Free Jacks, right? We're coming into the MLR at the third year, and I know Glendale had a quote unquote academy kind of before the MLR started. Um, a lot of the teams have not really provided a kind of roadmap for a lot of kind of the local kids on, if they want to play in the MLR, what is the pathway to becoming a major league rugby player or, a men's or women's Eagle player? In playing at kind of that upper echelon, that elite level of rugby. So what a lot of kind of the executives at the Free Jacks have done is kind of take it upon kind of create this pathway. And so this is something that we're going to be kind of going in motion, or kind of putting in motion. Well, it's actually already in motion. So right now, a couple of weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, we started up our kind of virtual academy with the Free Jacks. So that is something that we are extremely proud of, and we're continuing to build. Actually started the third week, which is myself and Josh Larson. We're speaking about the attacking breakdown. So with the kind of virtual academy, the IDP virtual academy, what we're kind of doing right now is we're kind of giving players an opportunity to virtually kind of pick our brains and look at the different drills and different skills we work on within the Free Jacks. And then also, so put together is on a weekly basis, we have a certain topic where we're really kind of focusing on. And so we put together different videos for them to take a look at, and also literature that we spent a lot of time putting together for them to use as a resource. And so they kind of go through and they take a look at that, and then they actually film themselves kind of doing some of these skills. And then, actually tomorrow we're going to be hopping on a webinar with the players to kind of go over some match film, but then go over some of their film that they're submitting to us, offer them some active feedback on it. And so that's actually a 12-week course that we're going on right now. And so we actually have some exciting stuff going on. We just recently created a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club of Massachusetts, who actually roll out another kind of virtual academy for an introduction to rugby, which is really, really exciting. So, one of the big kind of initiatives of the Free Jacks is trying to get a ball in as many kids' hands as we can. And so we're going to start actually filming that this week and rolling it out next week. So that will be for the Boys and Girls Club. And like I mentioned earlier, we're actually going to be opening it up. I just found out from Tom Kinley today, we're going to be opening it up to Myro, and it's going to be free for all the under 14 players, so that they can have an introductory course into rugby. And hopefully that ignites that fire. Also gives them a chance to keep working on their rugby skills, even though unfortunately, we can't get together and work on them. And just because we can't get out there and visit your trainings, we still want to be in contact with everyone, and we still want everyone to be excited about the sport of rugby and about the Free Jacks.
Absolutely, I love this two-prong approach. Well, it's actually many-prong, but I love the two different aspects that I'm hearing here. One is sort of the traditional classic, focusing on developing the people that already play rugby. But one thing that we started talking about earlier, and Shaggy has such a great term for it that I've just adopted it, was normalizing rugby. So it's one thing to take the rugby population and bring up the level of rugby, either, making it more available, better organized, better coaching, more opportunities to play. But normalizing rugby, and that's something that you'd expect you would love to see from somebody like Free Jacks or Myro or anybody else doing. But normalizing rugby, that's kind of going out to the people that are not already rugby players, that are not already rugby fans, going out to the general public and doing things to make it so that rugby is, oh yeah, I maybe I've never played rugby, but oh yeah, I understand rugby. It's not this foreign crazy thing that, I'm afraid of because I've never heard of it, but actually taking steps to make rugby more exposed to everybody out there. Normalizing it, right, Shaggy? Was that, am I
Yeah,
putting?
I mean, you got to assimilate into the popular culture. Want everyone? Our biggest foe 3 years ago was people not knowing about us, right? In the areas. So as long as if everyone knows and is sick of all the rugby clubs and all the opportunities they have for their kids and to play rugby and to watch local rugby, then we've won. We'll get 10% of the people, 10% of all the people that didn't know 3 years ago is a lot of people that would be rugby fans or into rugby.
Absolutely. And I feel like the people that aren't familiar necessarily with the rules of rugby, they enjoy what they're watching. Like, wow, this is this kind of beautiful collision contact sport. But I'll tell you what, I don't know necessarily what's going on, but I like what I'm seeing.
Mhm.
Trying to get these people to just understand it a little bit more. It's an important thing, right? And it doesn't necessarily happen with just kind of adults, but if we can get younger fans involved and have that level of understanding, having them either play the sport or know someone that played the sport, I think that's such an important part of kind of growing the game. And once again, it's just another big initiative of the Free Jacks.
Time
Yeah.
like having the local major league rugby team with within driving distance that you can that rugby fan can bring their friend to, right? Just
Yeah.
that is so helpful. And with the outreach of the Free Jacks, along with just the coverage and the press coverage, and obviously with all the local clubs on board, just kind of working together, getting the word out. Just the Free Jacks are easier to present to a non-rugby person than, say, the Sharks flag rugby team, right? It's that brings that gravity. So it's such a really exciting time right now where we're just in this area. It's just it's ready to explode. It's great.
Absolutely. And one of the cool things the Free Jacks have done was some of the partnerships they created, like the ability to get the matches on Nesson. I
Yes.
mean, that was absolutely
Huge.
massive.
So good.
Really massive. And then, if you want to watch other matches, you can find them on Fox Sports or ESPN Plus and all these places. And one of the things I like to kind of stress upon, and I'm sure all of you can attest to it, is, and this kind of plays into, kind of, Chris, you kind of mentioned it, was kind of different resources and the ability to just kind of go into YouTube and watch international rugby, women's and men's or professional rugby from overseas, and kind of finding all of these kind of resources and all of this match film and all of these coaching resources and this and that, something that I am extremely jealous of because I didn't get the opportunity to. I imagine much like yourselves, like I remember having to like wake up at like 2 o'clock in the morning with my teammates in college, watch a rugby match in another language on some obscure channel, or trying to find some kind of dodgy, internet website that it might have the game streamed on with a bunch of like blocks. I mean, ads that you have to try to X out and this and that. That is like, if you really want to aspire to play a high level, you need to be watching the current themes and trends that are going on at that level. And so, with all of this kind of thousands of hours of match film and things like that, and all these resources that are now online, it helps create, better players and more kind of knowledgeable players. One of the big things that we're trying to do with the Free Jacks is trying to raise all players' IQs about the game. That's such an important part. Um, that's where the confidence comes from, and that's where like playing a beautiful style of rugby comes from. And that's it's such a big priority of ours at the Free Jacks is we want every club of every level just playing this kind of beautiful style of rugby, and then hopefully some of the Free Jacks techniques and kind of strategies, those kind of rub off and maybe inspire a different kind of technique or strategy, or kind of influence someone to kind of take something of ours and turn it into their own, and etc.
Yeah. Yeah,
And,
that's great.
and that's that's one thing that I wanted to that I was very surprised at, and I wanted to just tip my hat to, and that is going out to the boys club and boys and girls club and starting a partnership with them where you're going to be bringing where the Free Jacks are going to be bringing rugby to them. That's normalizing the sport. That's not just going out and doing outreach to rugby players. It's not just going out to like the local clubs, the youth clubs, or the senior side clubs, but you're reaching beyond rugby to the non-rugby players to bring them in And that's wow, that just blew my mind when I heard about that. That is fantastic. That is going above and beyond what I would think is the traditional staying within the bounds to build rugby up. So I tip my hat. I think that concept is amazing. On the show, we've talked about it amongst ourselves and each other. We talk a lot about how important it is to go out there to the rec clubs, to the different, to bring more people into rugby, to make rugby more visible. So that's amazing. Now I'd like to hear a little bit more about, let's assume COVID is not here. It never happened. COVID never happened. We're a year or two or however far into the future you envision this to really gain momentum. Um, what does the academy look like now? The other thing is, I think it's available for the coaches too, right? Because I saw you post. I saw the post about coaches being able to log on for these virtual sessions. I logged on for a week straight of sessions. I got everything from attack to defense. I mean, you were a big part of that in there also. So can you give us more, like, what are the pillars? What does the academy look like? What does it
Yeah,
look like if everything was working just fine?
definitely. And I'm glad you brought up the coaching webinars. So, after, just to kind of touch base on that, so after we kind of had our season suspended, we knew we wanted to, we kind of got robbed there. And
Yep.
it was unfortunate that we didn't even get an opportunity to have our first home match.
Oh,
The season was actually canceled. We had a sold out crowd. We were supposed to play Houston on, St. Patty's Day weekend.
yep.
And, the day before, unfortunately, it got canceled. So we had to kind of circle the wagons, go back to the drawing board about how we wanted to keep engaging with our amazing community we have here. And so the first thing that we launched was coaching webinars. And we did those for free. And so we did a month straight. We did 4 nights a week. So we tried to offer, different expertise in all different areas. Where it comes, well, I know, Tom Kinley and Aaron Collinson, who are involved with our S&C and analytics. They did this awesome whole thing about periodization for a full season. Tag Leader and Sam Beard, they did a lot of stuff in regards to kind of passing and different passing drills and techniques and all these things. I was fortunate enough to kind of speak about, defensive breakdowns and how to fold efficiently. And then, I kind of got into some scrummaging and Connor Kindergan, some lineout stuff. And right there, we just wanted to try to spread our knowledge to, and it wasn't just the coaches in New England. We ended up getting coaches from all over the world kind of taking part in these webinars. And I thought they went fantastic. I had such a great time doing them. Really, it goes to show how passionate we are here in New England, but how passionate all these rugby coaches across the world are, that they were willing, from other kind of allegiances of other MLR teams, they want to just kind of log in and kind of see what we were doing up here in New England, which was really cool. And so from there, we decided to kind of continue going forward and, creating the virtual academy. So the academy heading forward, our big priority is growing the game, not just boys because there's an MLR, but also girls as well, because we know there's future women's Eagles here in New England and future, high level women's players that can play, at, in the top levels of the game here. And so what we're looking to establish is we're looking to establish a U14, U16, U18 boys and girls teams, as well as, once the kids kind of hit the collegiate level, we're going to offer opportunities for kind of the summertime for them to kind of come back home and kind of continue to work on their skill sets. And then we also have, the New England Independents. And so that's going to be the level below the Free Jacks. And that's going to be for, men's and women's club players that are right on that edge that aspire to continue to play the high level of rugby and want to crack at international rugby representation as well. So we're looking to establish that in the near future. And so our game plan is kind of, once this whole COVID-19 thing blows over, we want to start having coaches in geographical areas around New England that are going to kind of be pulling together the local players, and running clinics, and then we're going to be having, we're going to have Free Jacks community coaches going up there. They're going to be creating a curriculum for them kind of follow, and then we're going to go up there and we're going to do top-up clinics. Then we want to try to create these kind of inter squad competitions, then produce these kind of top teams for each of the age grades. Hopefully one day we can compete against other MLR teams, other teams in the WPL, and hopefully we're going to continue to produce more Eagles and more elite rugby players in the area. And also another priority is something that you spoke about earlier, Daniel, was giving these players an opportunity to kind of travel overseas and play and compete against other clubs. And because rugby is such a global game that offers such a unique experience to kind of take in different cultures and to compete against players of all different experiences. And it's really exciting. It's such an exciting time to be a rugby player in the area, to be a rugby coach in the area, because there's so many big initiatives on the forefront.
Yeah, I think that's really great, Tony, because it's like we do sense there's a bit of a void about a pathway from our local youth rugby players up to the top levels of development. We haven't really seen a lot of folks make it towards the Eagles from the from the New England area. We've got you Kyle and Danny Collins on the Free Jacks, and I maybe mentioned a couple others, but generally speaking, when you look at the national team and when you look at all American teams, there's not a lot of folks from New England, and I'm really hopeful and optimistic that we can, the Free Jacks can help us shift that to where we not only are we growing our base of players, but we're also growing the level of the game across the board, and part of a symptom of that is that kids playing at higher and higher levels.
I know I agree with Chris. I mean, with this, with a clear pathway, it's just really gonna lead to more initiatives, from the wider net of the community. I think it's incredible, and just in general, the Free Jacks in Major League Rugby, from the top down, it has just been a missing link. We've had school, club, and then international, right? So it's such about time, and I'm glad you guys are taking into account the entirety of the age groups. I think it's just wonderful for the area. Super happy.
Yeah, good deal.
And one of the things I really want to kind of press is like, there's not going to be, the academy stuff's not going to replace the clubs. It's going to be a lot of it's going to rely on the coaches kind of finding those passionate players that they think that can kind of take that next step, and the coaches nominating players to kind of take that next step. In kind of working in this cohesive unit between the Free Jacks and all the local clubs. Right though, I wish there was a pathway like this when I was younger. And that was a big reason why I went overseas, is because I was, finishing up at University of Maine, and I was like, I want to be an Eagle, but how do I get there? And I was fortunate enough to have kind of a mentor from Boston Rugby, and his name was Bill Eaton, and he told me, he's just like, you got to get overseas. You have to try to be submerged in a culture that has been playing rugby, since they were so young, so that you can try to kind of create that muscle memory and those instincts the best that you can. And so that was kind of the pathway that, I was fortunate enough to have a guy kind of lay out that pathway for me. Now the kind of atmosphere has changed because we have professional rugby here. And so now I think it's really important that the MLR clubs, hopefully they're kind of adopting a similar kind of initiative in trying to get involved with all of the local teams of all age grades. It's so important. It's so important, just continue the growth of the sport and continue having players just try to reach their capabilities.
And you know what, we've been really for the lower ages, we've been on like a pay to play model where there wasn't any kind of natural identification through teams, existing teams. It'd just be if you thought you're good, you show up to the camps, right? So this is great. This is really taking all the resources that are already in place, and the end result will be getting the best players really involved. I think it's wonderful.
And
Yeah,
there's so many layers to what you're saying. In this show we've talked a lot about how um, there just needs to be somebody to step up and do X, Y, and Z, right? So the coaches for the local clubs, we're busy coaching our local clubs. The administrators, well, they're busy trying to keep, a structure that flows up and down as best can be. Um, Everybody, I think, recognizes how many of the different layers you just talked about, and I'd like to start peeling some out, and not just so much to give props but just to look at it. So one of the things that we've talked about is this concept of ITT, interterritorials, or select play, select clubs, select sides. And that's exactly what this represents. It's not here right now for those AIDS levels. And Tony, as you said, if that exists, it creates that ramp. It's not just a pathway. It's not just a bridge. It's a ramp. A pathway is just to get from here to there. But when you put something like this in place, is you're actually launching. You're not just helping connect 2 points, you're actually making, it's like you're adding to the end result. So being able to have young folk playing rugby, loving it, really, really enjoying it, seeing that they have a passion, maybe seeing that they've got it, they're whatever, they're tuned into the sport and they want to go further, and they're frustrated by their local club not being able to have better players. This is a way of being able to keep that player focused in rugby to provide for them the higher level play. I mean, I lost a player this past season because he's at an age where he's getting frustrated that there's no contact yet, and also the level of play. He's just going to have to wait before he can move to the next level of play. And he's got a bunch of every kid out there we're competing against a bunch of other sports. So he left rugby. Because he wanted to be challenged more by other sports. So this is fantastic. This is because what you're talking about to a certain degree, Tony, right? Is select side play. Is that
Yes,
true?
exactly. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it provides kind of that carrot, right? For players to continue to just work hard, continue to have fun, and hopefully get that opportunity to play for a select side. And one day, if they work hard enough and they really apply themselves, they could become a New England Independent and have the opportunity to play for a contract, compete against. As we know, competition is what makes brings out the best out of all of us. And so having those kind of opportunities really compete is what is going to be that initiative, or kind of that incentive, I should say, for a player like that.
So I wanna rewind a little bit. You mentioned that you were going to have these regional coaches, I think you called them. Is that what it was? Working together with the other clubs, or are these regional coaches out there pulling together their own select side? Could you tell me more about that, or am I not remembering correctly?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So they're going to be, these regional coaches are going to be involved in the clubs already. Like all of these coaches are already in a great position to kind of see their own players competing, seeing other players competing against each other, so they're going to be able to identify a lot of kind of these passionate players might be a good fit for the academy sides.
Oh,
So
I
those,
see. I see.
yeah,
So it's us basically. It's the coaches of current teams are going to become aware that this academy exists, and it's a symbiotic relationship. You need us to do the if I'm using probably the wrong terms and probably crude because this is not exactly how it is, but you need us to be the eyes and ears, the scouts for you to identify the players that would be a good fit, is what you're saying.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like, who better
Oh yeah.
would know? I mean, unfortunately, because a lot of the community coaches were also playing full time simultaneously. So continuing to cultivate the relationships with all of you coaches is so important and such a big priority of mine. Of just kind of touching base and seeing how the team's doing, how the players are doing, everything like that, and hopefully, we're going to rely heavily, on the local coaches to identify those players and really kind of push them forward. Because if anyone's going to know, you guys are going to know best. Who would be a good fit for these programs.
Absolutely, and I think every coach in New England is probably just so happy that this belongs. I mean, you've got, you have probably every other coach, if not every coach of youth rugby, rooting for you guys in every level. That are more than happy to participate in this one way or another, right? Right, guys? I mean, this only makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
Well,
and
everyone's
not the
in.
coaches, the players.
Right, exactly. I mean, and never mind the fact. I mean, you were talking about earlier about how sad it was that you guys never got a chance to play your first home game. Yeah, that's sad for you. You know who it's really sad? It's sad for us, man. We had been
Yeah,
simmering.
that's
We
right.
had our menu set up. I had my
We had one of
outfit
those
set up.
spots. We had the tailgate
We
spot.
did.
Yeah, we
We
had
did.
tailgate and everything, dude. You have no idea how ready we were for this and how crushed we were. No.
Battle flags ready, everything. We were
Yeah.
ready to go, and
I,
we're still ready to
yeah,
go.
we're
But yeah,
still ready to go. I don't.
We're
Swear
saving
win.
it up.
Yeah,
Saving it up.
I didn't think I didn't. I don't know if people knew. I just haven't wanted to lament it more because it was just so sad. But that first game was actually supposed to happen on my birthday, March 14th, right?
Oh
So
man.
I was like so ready for it. And then when I started hearing about the academy and everything, it's just it just. I was so pumped and so happy for everything that the Free Jacks are doing. So yeah, having the Free Jacks show up at town and say, "Hey, coaches of clubs out there, can you be our eyes and ears? Do you want to be involved? Can you be involved in X, Y, and Z manner?" Oh, absolutely, buddy. You want me to you want me to carry the water? I'll be the water boy in the games. Um, so that's really cool. So okay, so that makes sense. So that's how you begin to get the pool of players to begin with. Now you bring them together. Now would they be coming to a central location, or would these be regionals that then can so like Southern Massachusetts, Northern Massachusetts, and then they then develop a identity so they can now play against each other? Or how do you foresee that working?
So, from what I understand, so there is going to be, regional teams and regional kind of clinics, training sessions that we'll be going to, and so these teams are going to be, you know, training with one another, and then we're looking to bring the teams to kind of compete against each other, which is always fun, right? And of course, like that would be, outside of the club
Yep.
competitions and things like that. We don't want to interfere with that because we recognize how important those players are to their clubs and how important the clubs are. Um, so bringing those teams to compete against each other, and then hopefully from there we can kind of find and try to put together a team that would be ready to compete against another international team or against another kind of MLR academy team.
Oh, okay. So I mean, this just makes so much sense, guys. We've it's funny because we've talked about exactly this. We talked about how there's nothing stopping us as coaches from setting up a select camps and setting up teams from different regions in Massachusetts of these select players to play against, one another to bring up the level of play and to keep some of these players that are just really gifted or just really committed to rugby and having somebody like Free Jack step in and basically follow that model. I mean, guys, that only makes sense, right? Is this
Yeah,
heaven sent?
that's great.
This
No,
is
this is great. This is
so.
exactly.
It's
It
like
goes to what Chris said as well. I mean, just there's been such little representation from New England players. Seeing just a New England Sevens team. Now Northeast Academy's done something, but if we could have other teams going down to New York, Randall Island, or sending a New England team almost anywhere get noticed, I think this is fantastic.
and then
So,
go ahead, Brian.
what ages are you talking about going down into that level of like select side?
Yeah, so we're looking to establish U14, U16, U18 boys and girls teams, and then kind of once we get to the collegiate level, unfortunately we understand they have different commitments, and there's like kind of MLR restrictions per se. Um, but then we're looking to kind of bring those players back for some summer kind of camp stuff, and continuing to kind of build upon their skill sets, and trying to continue to kind of push them in the right direction. And then hopefully after they're done college, they come back home, and then they have the opportunity to play for the Independence team, and then that's the team that kind of is the developmental squad for the Free Jacks.
So,
Yeah. Go ahead,
how
Ryan.
young? The youngest did you say is U14?
14.
14? So 12 to 14?
Yeah, I imagine so. In regards, I'm not entirely sure what age is going to be youngest. But we figured, under 14 would be kind of a good starting point.
So that's like junior high school. That's like junior high school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
middle
Exactly.
school teams. Yeah.
That is
I
perfect.
feel like
So
they're
Tony, this would be 15s play, I assume. Because
I,
in Massachusetts
sure.
I mean we just started at sevens at that age group. Were you going to transition to 15s, or were you
So
thinking
I'm
of
not
sevens
sure
at
if you
that?
saw, we actually had some exciting news that we just partnered up with the Jesters Sevens team, which is a very kind of well-known sevens team in some of the big circuits like the Invitational and stuff like that. So I'm not sure what that partnership's going to yield, but it should be interesting to see. I know, me, I'm particularly like a 15s guy, and so I think 15s is probably going to be kind of a major focus for a lot of the academy stuff. So, hopefully building up into that kind of inner MLR competition. Who knows? I mean, sevens could also be another priority as well.
It's funny, yeah. We need to have a show at some point about sevens and 15s because of and discuss just discuss it in general because I think everybody has the
I
same
think you can do two separate shows on it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think everybody has the same exact reaction. When somebody says, "Oh, are you talking about sevens or 15s?" Everybody, in situations like this, everybody's like, "Oh, good question." At one point, 15s was king and sevens was not heard of. Nowadays, whoa, sevens is sevens, king right now. Yeah, whatever.
It was right up until 2016, and now it's all.
All right,
Right,
so
exactly.
we'll
The
save
other
that.
thing too, I think we'd all love to play 15s. I mean, it's a challenge with the numbers with some of the younger
numbers,
kids currently,
yes.
right? That's why this year we're merging with the Wolfhounds to do 15s even at the high school level, just together. I'd love to see a seventh, eighth grade 15s team, and the Wolfhounds did it a couple years ago. My older son played with them, but it's tough with the numbers right now. Love to see it, but yeah.
Yeah, but
Be a
So
challenge.
hopefully, with bringing multiple teams together, we can help kind of offset and bring those numbers together for it. The thing about 15s is really is an inclusive game because there's a position for every kind of body type.
Absolutely.
Really, really powerful. Where sevens, I'm not a sevens guy. My skill sets aren't really really utilized in sevens to say the least. So you're only kind of looking for specific kind of athletes in sevens. 15s, we kind of open up that net a lot more. And I think we're so fortunate here in Massachusetts being the only state in the country where it's recognized at a varsity level at Massachusetts. So that is, that's a 15s competition, which is really, really exciting. And
You know,
No, that's great. So
Yeah, go ahead, Shaggy. Go ahead, Shaggy.
go ahead, Ryan.
All right, I'll go. Yeah, so you were saying one of the things that attracted you in college, right, was like, I've been a center all this time. You're telling me I get to carry the ball. You're telling me I get to tackle people. You're telling me I get to kick if I want, pass if I want. That was very attractive, right?
absolutely, man. The ability to not just play offense, but be able to do. I think that's another kind of beautiful aspect of our game is everyone has to have a similar skill set, but then depending 1 to 15, there's different kind of unique skill sets simultaneously that each player needs to have. And I think to create that kind of continuity is so important, and I think it's such a beautiful part about the sport.
Yeah, it's something that I try to use to recruit kids more, and I just feel like, uh, I've been involved with like the middle school age. This would be my first year into the high school groups, um, and it's hard to attract those kids yet. I think when they've done a certain number of years, that becomes more attractive. It's like, wow, I am tired of not carrying the ball, right? But like, I feel like the middle school and the early high school kids aren't necessarily jaded to the fact that they're not going to carry the ball, and as a down lineman,
Mhm.
so it's tougher to recruit them at that.
Hey, I think you'd be surprised though. As soon as they kind of carry that ball and they're running towards someone, or maybe even find some open space, that is a whole new adrenaline rush to say the least.
Yeah, and kids are playing pee wee football from very, very, very young. So I hate to say that we have jaded 8, 9 year olds, but I know that
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. This, just the knowledge, the ability to know that you could take the ball and just run with it. And as you mentioned, not just a skill set, but different body types. You can build up a skill set if you're really committed to it. But somebody that's built like a hooker is not going to do good in sevens no matter what. So it's yeah, skill set, and it's also different body types. So 15s is very inclusive in that way, that I
and I
really
think
enjoy. So go Steve.
Oh, sorry, Daniel. I think part of it too. We talked about before. I think at that age, at the youngest age, we're marketing the game as much to parents as we are to kids. So it's like here's an opportunity to have your kid come out and play a game they not know much about. They may not know much about, but here it is. Everybody can play. There's a position for everybody. Everybody's going to touch the ball. If we've said it before, if we're playing sevens and we have 14 kids, we're going to have two teams. I mean, if we were playing 15s and we'd have 32 kids, we're going to have two teams. Everybody's going to be out in the field. Everybody's going to play. So I think at the younger age too, it's a chance to really push it with the parents as much as we can and them know their kid will have an opportunity. When my youngest kids played tackle football, it was frustrating. One of my kids was receiver playing out all the time. The other kid was a lineman. The difference was staggering with the enjoyment of the game, really, even at the younger ages. I think there's some opportunity there with the parents as well to be able to present them with an opportunity when they're looking at sports for their kids. Just let them know opportunity they do have with rugby.
Yeah,
Good point.
every way I look at this, it's just another layer that peels off. That is an area of opportunity that we've talked about in the past. The select play IT, the select play, and then ITT, in this case would be it would be within Massachusetts. The other thing is, you're right. We may not have the numbers for 15s, but as Tony pointed out, and Steve, as we saw with the Wolfhounds, that won't be a problem for them because they're going to be pulling numbers. If we provide them the numbers, they're going to have enough numbers to be able to it not be an issue. If we do this right, they're going to have enough numbers to be able to practice 15 on 15 live, as opposed to a lot of clubs out there only have 16, 17, 18 players, and they're constantly doing unopposed. So, I mean, this is just checking off so many different, marks and the things that I would love to see out there. Another one, and I forgot what the other one was. Oh my goodness, I should have written it down. Yeah, I totally spaced it. Anybody else got anything?
Well, I just want to say, so if we do get 15s going at the U14s, that would be a a first for like Myra associated clubs in Massachusetts, and that'd be great. It's always good, if you're not pushing the envelope, if you're not growing, then you're not growing. So I mean, I'm on board for what for the Free Jacks vision. Um, it'd be great. It'd be great to expand. Just expand the skills and options for players at that age, because I've found, and I'm sure a lot of clubs are finding that's, at that age, kids are just rearing and ready to go. I mean, those are the ages we first offer contact, right? And kids are just all in. So, you know, it'd be great. You get those kids, just introduce them to the full 15s game. The ones that are skilled enough at that age, it might actually make more sense, and just to get them identified and refined right from the get go.
And another thing that select side play does for us, Tony, and you probably are very intimate with this. You came to Boston, you played with Boston, you played with Mystic, you got as many games in as you could, maybe met some Eagles. Then you went back to college and you were in the role of being a player coach over there. So you're going to have this cross pollination also. I'd love to be able to send these kids and they come back with more skills, different skills, a different game plan than the one we're having. At the local club that they're a part of. So now they become the cross pollinator. In a way, they're also being the person that's doing outreach in a way, because they are bringing in what they learned over there into the club. And it's going to force every club out there to pay attention to the game plan and the method that the academy is using. And I, as a coach, I relish the chance to be able to learn more about the game or just a different game plan, to be aware so that when this kid comes back, maybe I need to incorporate it into my local club. So the cross pollination there is just going to be fantastic. I just really like that. And question, would this extend to a different season, or is it going to stay same season as traditional rugby season? Because another thing that we've talked a lot about, and Tony, you saw it yourself, is it's great to be able to play rugby for your school or your club or whatever, but some kids want to be able to then play, year round, or play more seasons. So is this going to be happening during like the traditional uh, rugby season, or is it going to expand?
So we understand that, like, there's going to be athletes that are going to be playing other sports, and there's going to be athletes that are going to want to play for their local school. And so we're going to look to try to schedule these outside of those kind of
Okay.
competitive times. So maybe kind of gear it more towards, kind of that summertime. Where they might be playing with their clubs, part time. Like I know during the summer seven season, there's only a few kind of sevens for them to kind of compete in, kind of giving them more opportunities to continue to compete. And we understand that, especially at the high school level, they're going to be playing other sports. And we're not really trying to make them kind of just specialize in one sport. We
Oh yeah.
understand at a young age, it's important to be crossover athletes, because there's really good fundamentals and other awesome things, that they can take from other sports and then apply them to their rugby playing abilities. And so, yeah, we're going to try to, schedule them so that we're not conflicting and pulling players away from competitions with their home clubs or teams.
That totally makes sense. So Tony, let me ask you a question. Why stop at U14?
That's a good question. And, I still think I feel it's still being debated. I think that was just the initial kind of thought process. But I'm sure that, there's people at the Free Jacks that, are interested in hearing more about it, and trying to get, more kids involved at a younger age. Like I said, we're going to be starting this initiative with the Boys and Girls Club and with Myro, trying to get, trying to raise the standard, right? That is such a big, big priority of
Yep.
ours. And kind of one thing that you alluded to last time that you were speaking, was, when these players come back, we're looking to just raise the standard of skills and, continuing to kind of push the progress of players in the area, and really just trying to, create that confidence. And like I was talking about earlier, with the sport of rugby, as you guys know, we're looking to create better citizens, kind of use rugby in trying to get these players to create these like camaraderie and these everlasting friendships that we were all fortunate enough to kind of partake in.
Hey Tony, hey, I
Just
wanted
kinda
to. This is Daryl. Hey, so I was curious about you'd kind of touched on a little bit your relationship with or desire to work more with Myro, and I think in some ways Myro is I think be a great partner to work with, and so I'm curious about your how your relate how yeah, about that relationship. I mean, it's kind of it, what do you guys what are you guys what kind of relationship are you guys looking to have with Myro? How important is it with Myro? And then my second question will be about the MIAA. I was just curious about your working relationship with Myro and how important it's going to be going forward. What do you think it's going to look like?
So unfortunately, I probably wouldn't be um the man to talk to right now about it. So I just found out today about this kind of Myro partnership with the kind of Learn to Play virtual academy stuff. I have had the pleasure to work with multiple Myro teams with the kind of spring and fall clinics, and looking forward to continuing to do that. Um, to be honest with you, I think the possibilities are endless in regards to the Free Jacks partnerships with the Myros in the MIAAs. Biggest priority is to continue to promote the sport and hopefully continue to get the numbers up in these schools, and participation levels high, and also from what I understand, continuing to grow the sport not just with boys but also with the girls within both of those organizations.
Nice, yeah. Because right now I kind of feel like Myro would definitely benefit from just selfishly, I think Myro would definitely benefit from working with you and the Free Jacks. I think it just goes to lending that credibility, both organizations.
Yeah,
And
and yeah, and you know what I would say? Not only just Myro. So I would say, Daryl, I think you sort of if you form this in a phrase of an opportunity or a comment for Tony and the Free Jacks and the Free Jacks Academy, maybe versus the question is like there is a huge opportunity. We've got these folks at Myro, which is a great group on them who want to grow and build and make better rugby players better citizens. And we also have MIAA, which is quite disjointed from, and then we also have probably the greatest community of college rugby players east as well, right? And so on the one side of my mouth, I'm saying that we are underrepresented at the national level on the high school All American, collegiate All American, and on the other hand, I'm saying we have one of the best rugby communities in the country. And this wasn't my notion, but JJ, as usual, is the smart guy who's behind the scenes mentioned. But what an opportunity we have for Free Jacks to actually sort of collect us, build some momentum, and sort of create, sort of to coalesce the rugby community that currently is sort of disjointed between even as simple as Myro and MIAA, two youth rugby organizations that aren't really talking to each other very well. And we're hopeful, if the Free Jacks have an eye on it, you might be able to really build some momentum in the community.
Absolutely. And, much like a lot of kind of the senior clubs, we want to try to, create that synergy, between Myro and the MIAA in trying to like, have a banner that they both in, look upon as a resource, and, continuing to grow the game into more schools and, more teams and things of that nature.
Yeah.
yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I've spent a little bit of time with the high school part here, and it is. I mean, that is the thing that makes Massachusetts attractive. Um, that we have such a strong college presence. It's like every school has a. You may not have a football team, but you damn near have a rugby team almost at every school that has grass. And then we are one of the few states in the union that has it as a varsity sport. Honestly, right now we've gone a little bit stagnant. We've got about 18 boys teams and 5 girls teams, and we haven't really grown. And our path forward hasn't really been really worked out all that well. And so I think a great relationship with you guys would be a great way to help us build a pathway forward to helping create more varsity programs or club programs. And that leads me to the last part is so what happened, as far as I can understand, is when we went varsity, that was basically at the expense of our club high school program, which meant that our high school kids were really only getting one experience. They were just getting it in the fall. And then by the time the summer ran out, they were scattering. And so I don't think we've done a very good job of building a bridge between high school varsity players and then coming back and playing for the club either during the summer, playing summer sevens, and then participating in our winter clinics. What do you think that you could do to bring to kind of help us with that building of a bridge from high school varsity to bringing kids back to club? And I guess the example is this. So I coached at Needham High School, and so a lot of my kids were absolutely only playing rugby in the spring, rugby in the spring, and we didn't have a youth club in the area. So when summer came, when school was out, my kids were absolutely not doing any rugby over the summer. There was just no club to play for. So is there something that, and I know you guys want to get in front of those kids. What are your?
Yeah, and I think that's a challenge, right? And so hopefully, in that particular situation, hopefully, the kids, now that there is kind of, there is this kind of end goal that they can strive towards, that will keep them more engaged, more than just kind of outside of that spring competitive season. And hopefully it will kind of give them that kind of incentive to want to play more, and want to continue to kind of keep building on that skill set, and keep that passion and that fire for the game alive. I mean, I think we're so fortunate here at the Free Jacks that we have such an amazing guy and such a great mentor in the game of rugby, in Alex Magleby. Him being involved as a high performance manager for some of the most successful years of USA Rugby, and some of his experience in building a high performance program up at Dartmouth, with the women's and men's teams. He was at the helm of the USA Sevens men's team, All-American coach. I mean, he has so many accolades, and so he has this wealth of knowledge, and he's such an amazing resource. And hopefully, he can provide that kind of guidance, in at the kind of organizational level, and trying to bring these different organizations together.
I think it's great. Even just being there and being a consistent goal from spring to summer would just bridge the gap, because I mean the MIAA, they can't bring their coaches into coach the kids into summer. So there's a disconnect that's kind of intentional between the MIAA and Miro. So it just it's the presence of an attainable goal, or a New England presence is super helpful. Just going back to the partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, Tony. I was kind of curious about this, because I have a Boys and Girls Club about a block away from me, and you guys are going to be putting on a program there. I think it was in the summer.
Yeah, so a couple months ago, had this awesome opportunity to go down to Marshfield, and we just did a kind of introduction to rugby at the Boys and Girls Club in Marshfield. And there was the age range was from, I mean, it was like, I want to say it was 150 kids from first grade up until 8th grade. We did this huge clinic with everyone involved in the gym, and we try to manage it the best we could. There's a lot of kids, and we only had 3 coaches. I think that we did a really good job of trying to keep all the kids engaged and having fun and we got some really, really good kind of feedback on that. And from that, the CEO at the Boys and Girls Club there was really, really excited about the opportunity of kind of bringing rugby into Marshfield. And kind of one of the things he spoke about was actually inviting the CEOs of the other Boys and Girls Clubs across Massachusetts into coming and kind of witnessing one of these clinics that we were doing to just kind of see. I mean, another beautiful thing about the sport of rugby that we haven't even touched upon is there is no the cost of playing rugby is absolutely minuscule. You don't really need anything. A lot of the equipment is provided, and then all you got to do is really kind of show up. So that's such an important part of this kind of game, right? You don't need $500 worth of equipment to just step on the field. All you need is yourself and a good attitude. You can have some fun. As you get older, you might need a mouthpiece or, a pair of boots or something like that. But those aren't absolutely necessary until you get there. So that is one of the really kind of positive things that we have and going on, which is exciting. Um, so yeah, and so from that created a really kind of good buzz at the Boys and Girls Club. And I know they were kind of talking about having these professional players coming and visiting them and speaking to them. And they were talking about it on their little campus there, for weeks. And that's what kind of morphed into kind of kind of this opportunity to have this kind of virtual academy that we're going to be rolling out here in a couple of weeks.
It's great. No, were you guys planning on like or more classes, like booking classes at other Boys and Girls Clubs, or is it just going to be just some online training?
So, because of the current situation, we were going to do the online training as a kind of initial kind of introductory course. And our plan is once people start coming together, is to get out to these Boys and Girls Clubs and actually put on the clinics. And then also kind of train the coaches at these clinics to kind of continuing the kind of progression of their players and continuing to grow the game.
Tremendous. There's so much interest like around I'm in Marshfield. Now, around this area, like I had interest for programs at the YMCA. There was things going on at the Boys and Girls Club. There's things kind of popping up here and there, through student run efforts. Those people that were asking me for programs at private fields. And the big problem is, we don't have the resources, the trained resources, or people that we can say, oh, this place is right for for a class or for an initiative, or we just don't have we don't have that. So it's really great that you guys are kind of partnering with the Boys and Girls Club and growing that network through their networks, because I mean, I was identifying that as, an opportunity before, but we, obviously I have no, it's me and like my flag coaches, it's really gratifying to hear.
And you know what? It's great to hear that you were talking about coaching the coaches also, because it's just fantastic that you're opening up the door for this to happen, and the experience for the kids. I'm sure it's fantastic to have a free jack show up and a professional player be at these clinics. Now, if this becomes very successful in every other club, every other Boys and Girls Club, and the Y starts now coming knocking on your door and saying, "Hey, we'd love for you to be able to do this for us." I mean, you guys are players. you you have your own business that you need to be able to take care of in order to be able to be a peak performance. To be able to have a game on Saturdays. Um, I love hearing this about coaching the coaches, because if you've done the hard part of being able to open up the doors, I'm sure that there's a lot of coaches in the area that'd be more than happy to be trained by the method that the Free Jacks is presenting, and participate. So it allows the Free Jacks to be able to reach out to more places where you just don't have enough players, or players that can participate and do this, if the interest is that high. Which transitions into the next questions that I was going to ask is there anything that the community can do to help the Free Jacks be successful in this academy concept that you have, or in all things youth related that Free Jacks is starting to build into. The one thing that I heard is obviously stay connected so that we can identify the players that can benefit and are a good match for a Free Jack to participate in the Free Jack Academy. But is there anything else that you foresee that the community can come together, whether it's the coaches or the coaches and players, whatever, can do to help the Free Jacks be as successful as possible in these endeavors, including you know being trained by you guys to be the coaches on the ground for the kids when you just don't have enough Free Jacks to go around to every boy and girls club and YMCA in the province area in Massachusetts. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's really difficult, right? So you know, the ability to kind of like what you alluded to earlier, we're full-time professional players,
Yep.
and so that's a 24-hour, that's a 24/7 kind of job, and so kind of a few community coaches have kind of taken upon themselves to also um, simultaneously also to get out and do these clinics. I think one of the most powerful things that I kind of witnessed about our amazing rugby community here was, after this whole thing happened and our home season got canceled. Free Jacks kind of they gave the opportunity for our founding members, if they wanted to a refund, they could. 99% of founding members, no, we believe in what you're doing and we want to hold on to our season tickets and we'll be here for you when next season comes around. And that's so powerful. And that meant so much to the players. I remember, Alex Magleby wrote an email to all the players letting us know that. And, I had such a sense of pride hearing that. And that, our community believes in us so much. They're willing to kind of continue to wait, I should say, for top level professional rugby here in the New England area. So I think that's important, right? Getting out there, come in and watching us play, because it's more than just a match day experience, but like speaking about before, the only one of the best ways that you can become a better player is watching that elite level rugby. Come out, watch the Free Jacks, watch us. I encourage the local coaches in the area. Please reach out to me directly at tony.purpura@freejacks.com. That's my community email. Like, reach out to me, and so hopefully we can kind of get something on the schedule on for when we kind of get back out there. But please, just understand that there's not many of us, and we got to get all around New England. So please have some patience in that regard, and please continue to stay engaged with us, because that's one of our big priorities, right? I think Ollie Englehart on our team, he also does the operations. He's done such a fantastic job running our social media, of just trying to make sure people aren't forgetting about us just because we're not currently competing. So we're trying to do fun things outside of just like these virtual academies and stuff. I'm not sure if you guys saw, but we did the ride of Paul Revere. We all came
Yeah,
together and
that
That
did
was
was
so good.
great. That was
That was
so
good.
good.
um,
Keep going, keep going. Sorry.
so I think it's more than just about kind of what happens on the pitch.
Mhm.
Much like what Alex Magleby is trying to create with this whole festival experience. When it comes to match day at Union Point, um, it's more than just what happens on the pitch. It's about all the kind of finer details, and all those things add up together to a much larger picture. much like our awesome community here, we have all these different clubs and credences and all these different levels, but all together we're New England Rugby, and that's a powerful thing. And just keep engaged. It's amazing with the power of social media. Um, it's awesome to kind of go and do a clinic at a certain place, and then in the weeks after or even months after, having some of the players that I might have made an impact on kind of reach out to me and ask me a question about a certain technique, or just kind of let me know about their upcoming rugby challenges and things of that nature. And I enjoy it so much. So hopefully everyone in the Free Jacks kind of Jackson Nation continues to stay engaged, because it's kind of it's a line that a lot of people say, but we're all in this together, and we're all missing rugby together, and we're all looking forward to getting back out on the pitches. In the meantime, we're going to do our best to try to stay engaged with everyone, and try to continue to work on those skills, and continue to kind of grow the game as much as we can.
Absolutely, so that when we can get out there, we can all ride together. I love that concept, and if this academy thing happens, and before a home game, you see some of these select side players, teams playing against each other, either next to the pitch or somewhere near, to make it, that festival feeling where you have the U whatevers playing 2 hours before kickoff, and in the U whatevers 3 hours before kickoff. And now you're pulling players and families from all across Massachusetts and New England. That would just be ridiculous. That is just fantastic. All right, folks. Anybody have any other questions, or Tony? Is there anything else you want to let us know?
I mean, you just touched base on something that was important, and this entire season, not only were kind of the professional guys, kind of lost the opportunity to play in front of everyone. We had all these kind of curtain raiser matches scheduled, and all these kind of matches before. That is a massive kind of priority, is giving the platform or the stage for all these different clubs and all these different levels of rugby players chance to kind of play on the same field that we are. And so there's a lot of people that kind of missed out on that opportunity, kind of play in that curtain raiser. And I'm so sorry to all of those people. I'm looking forward to in the future when that can happen, because we had so many exciting things in store for all of our kind of passionate fans. And it just didn't work out, but it doesn't mean it's not going to happen in the
This kind of brings me to a conversation we were having, I think the last podcast, the one before. It's when we finally break out of this COVID thing, we're gonna have we're gonna rush the field. It's gonna be amazing. Hopefully, with
Oh,
us,
yeah.
with our summer season, it might be shortened, and if it is, we're gonna try to put something together that's just as fun as possible. And it'd be awesome if we get some of you guys involved as soon as we get the all clear, just to get out on the field, get all the kids involved, get the community involved, and just have a blast, a giant rugby party.
I love it.
Absolutely.
We're all saving up for it.
Absolutely.
Be glorious.
Anybody else? Anything else?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm so excited for the Free Jacks tonight, and in the area. I just think that you guys are like this big unifier, and it's just so exciting right now to have you guys around from at every level. I just think it's just gonna to be able to. And I go into schools and rec centers, and I talk to people, and as soon as I mention that we have a professional team, man, their eyes just light. It's so exciting right
Yeah, it really is. It is. It's no point crying over spilled milk, but there was a lot. This season was going to be just such a festival. It was going to be absolutely amazing, and it will happen. It will happen. It's coming. It's coming. It's going to be even better, because we had. It's kind of like the fantastic meal that you had to wait an extra half hour for. It's going to taste that much better.
Uh, The timing makes it personal. We have to show it. We got to show COVID who's boss when it limps out of town.
Absolutely. All right.
I
Anybody
also have.
else?
Do you mind if I just want to thank all of you.
Yeah.
For first of all for having me on. For everything that all of you are doing for this sport in this state. All of you are you're pioneers. And that's how I look at of our time. Right now in the history of rugby here in the United States and in New England, we're all pioneers, right? We're creating something that is much larger than our clubs. And I just think it's so. Just have so much respect for all of you, and I'm so grateful for everything all of you have been doing. And I just wanted to express that. And please, like I said, please reach out to me directly, tony.purpura@freejacks.com. And I'm looking forward to staying in touch with all of you and, continuing to build these relationships and, looking forward to making it out to your trainings coming in the near future and everything. And I appreciate your time and your efforts.
Fantastic. All right, folks. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Anybody have any shout outs, last words, that type of stuff as we get ready to just close this one out?
I've got a last word that been sort of saving. First of
Yeah.
all, shout outs. I know you guys will take care of the shout outs. I want to get the shout outs past or so that we've been shouting out, but I just want to reiterate what Tony said at the very beginning of this podcast is that under 14 Myro players, which I have 2 of them in my house, a free virtual training, right? That means that I've got my little ruggers looking for something to do rugby. They can do it for free, and that is amazing. And they can bring a friend, right? And so we can get some kids kick started when they don't have much rugby going on, and they can grow the game by inviting it for even their older sister, sneak in. So I just think that's amazing. Like, not a lot comes for free nowadays, and I'm really excited about that. That's a fantastic.
JJ,
Yeah, I mean,
or anybody, jump on in.
Hey, so I'll
that's
give
it.
a shout out. Did it once before, but you say it again. Thanks to the Free Jacks. It's the greatest thing is my 2 youngest kids will not know what it's like growing up without professional rugby. 6-year-old, 9-year-old. They've been out to the Cara Cup. They have their own season tickets. 9-year-old said to me, I told him I was getting him in bed early tonight, and I said, well, we have this podcast we have one of the Free Jacks, and his eyes lit up, and he was like, can I come and say hello? Oh, I mean, it's such a cool thing, right? Like our kids now, it's like the Patriots, the Red Sox, whatever else. It's our professional franchise here, New England, and it's fantastic.
Yep,
Absolutely.
it's Steve. I got one next to me as you listening in, ready to jump in, right? Yeah, totally. They're all about.
I got to Tony. I got to live in Belfast for 2 years with my wife, and that was home of Ulster Rugby, and it was so exciting living in town with a professional team. And it just, the entire town was all excited, always wearing gear. And just getting to see that up close and personal, you could tell how impactful that was. So, and I got to work with their youth academy and go into schools. And, when we had the gear on, people were excited. And I can see it even here, again, when I go into school, rec centers, talk about rugby and I talk about the college and the high school, talk about the professional aspect of it. And then I could see their eyes kind of light up. And they're even for Americans who haven't really seen the game, they maybe seen they all get very excited about the idea of a professional side. They're like, oh, really? Now you're talking to me. So it's just very exciting times, and I speak, just like the other guys say, when we come out on the other side, it's and we will. We're you guys are going to have a very good fan base, and it's incredible how fast it grew. I remember going to that first match you guys held and just looking at the numbers, and I was like, man, this is something special. This New England area has been waiting for this for a long. And so I think you guys are going to enjoy a really awesome time here, and I think it's going to be incredible. It's going to be very exciting to watch. And I grew up in Denver, where we have the Glendale Raptors, and I kind of saw what that was all and how that grew. So I think you've got the chance to make that an even bigger splash here in New England. So it's very exciting times.
Well, I'd say, shout out to the Free Jacks. You got Tony answered every single question perfectly. Everything I hope that that the Free Jacks would be doing in regards to all these topics. It seems that you guys are taking the initiative and doing and identifying. It's really beyond refreshing, because these are issues and potential issues and ideas that we've all had, but we had no we just we weren't the professional, we weren't the New England Free Jacks, and you guys are, you're in the position, you're just taking the reins, and you know what, you're leading. It's great. We're all on board, and I just couldn't be more happy, couldn't be more proud for the local team. Thank you.
All right, I'll go next. So I actually already did a shout out to the Free Jacks in earlier shows, so in earlier episodes. So I'm not gonna double down. I'm not gonna double dip, although I would double down on it now after hearing everything that we just discussed. And yeah, we could actually do this. We could continue for another 2 hours because we were talking about the different layers. I had 4 other layers that I want to talk about, but I think it's just talking about the ones that we talked about is good enough. My shout out is going to be a lot more pedestrian, since we're stuck inside and trying to keep the kids entertained and doing stuff, and also enriching myself. I'm going to do a shout out to the Dice Tower and what was the other podcast? The Dice Tower and the I'll remember the other one. Podcasts about board games that I started listening to probably about 10, 15 years ago. Board games right now have been saving my life with my kids. And listening to those podcasts that go on for 4 hours in different formats also kind of helped me think about putting together a podcast like this that has also been really a lot of fun, and I get to talk about rugby and different aspects of rugby that I really 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 enjoy. So this has been nothing but a joy and has been really really enriching. So a huge shout out to the Secret Cabal podcast and the Dice Tower. All right, anybody else? JJ?
Yeah, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely, go.
Yeah, so a quick one. Listen, I haven't said any words tonight, but look, a shout out to you, Daniel, because taking from the first session we had, what, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, coming up to now, and the range of discussion and topic and the emotion and the frustration and a lot of it all to now really culminating in Tony. And Tony, I've seen you train. I've been with you. I've seen you with the kids, and man, you were born with a mic in your hand after listening to this podcast. You're really awesome, and you're a great ambassador to the sport here. And there really is a positive energy growing through the development of these podcasts, and also looking into the future. So I'm really looking forward to looking back into Boston in the years to come, and seeing great things here. Thank you, Daniel.
Second that, Coach JJ.
Thanks everybody for an excellent episode. Oh, somebody else talking?
I was thirding the second.
30 the second.
30 the second.
All right.
Very good.
Anybody else? I think we've gone through everybody. Ryan, you got anything? We're good. All right, guys. I think we've been at it for 2 hours. I think it's probably time to close it up now. We could continue for another 2 hours, but let's just leave it there. So from the podcast, thanks to everybody out there, everybody that's going to consume it later on. Thanks to Tony. Thanks to the Free Jacks. We had a lot of fun. Thank you.